Hey everybody! In today's video, I'm going to show you a super dramatic thing that you can do with 3D embossing folders. So first what you want to do is run the 3D embossing folder through your embossing machine with a piece of cardstock, and then flip it over to the deboss side to add color. And I'm just adding this with blending brushes. You don't have to be super precise. And you pick how bold you want the color to be. The more bold it is, the more dramatic the effect will be. But basically, you just want to color the image the way you would normally if you were not finishing with a blackout technique. So here I'm just doing what would be some natural colors for florals, and I'm going to blend a little bit of pink in here to create a purple around the edges. This kind of adds a little bit of drama, as you will see in the end. And then I am just leaving the foliage green. This is a pretty simple embossing folder. All three of these 3D embossing folders that I'm using, you can find a link to where I got those in the description below. Any 3D embossing folder will work. However, I will tell you this technique really needs a 3D embossing folder. You're just not going to get the same effects from a typical depth embossing folder that you will with the 3D, and it should become really obvious why. Now I'm going to color this little, I love this mushroom one. You know I love all things mushrooms. They're just my favorite. It's like an emblem of my childhood, and if it's got a mushroom on it, I'm going to buy it. Basically, if there's a white van parked outside that looks super sketchy, but somebody's got some kind of mushroom stamp in there, they could probably just lure me into the van. I'm just kidding. Don't try it. Okay, so on the last one, which is also a floral, I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm just using pink and yellow and green for these. This one is kind of interesting because this and the mushroom have more of kind of an all-over design without a bunch of empty space. You're going to see what a difference that makes in the final product versus the first one where I just have a couple large, big, bold images and then some unembossed space. Now for this technique, I really prefer a foam pad. I love this Concord & Ninth black ink for this technique. It's the one I use every time. And you just want to keep the ink pad parallel to the debossed cardstock that you've colored and just drag it down with a direct to paper technique. Be gentle, don't smush the ink pad into the design, and it will preserve all of the color details, and it will pop that black onto any areas that are not debossed, so the flat areas of the design. And just keep going until you get the coverage that you want. It instantly pops out that design. This is why you don't have to be super careful coloring. So you noticed when I was adding color that it was just kind of random and all over the place. This is why. This completely crisps up this image. It makes the colored portions pop, and it hides everything else. So anywhere where you kind of went past the image with your color is hidden. It also does some soft blending inside the images, which will be more prominent on the next two that I'm going to show you. So this one, which is a busier design, you can see there's going to be less black space in the background. Still, it's just amazing to watch the picture come to life. When you add the black, all of the images suddenly come into focus, and they're just so, so pretty. I love this embossing folder so much. So cute. So just keep going. I like to turn mine, as you'll see. I'm kind of turning it 90 degrees as I apply the ink, and that just helps me make sure that I'm kind of evenly covering it from every direction. Just resist the temptation to press really hard, because that's what will obscure the images that you're trying to make pop. But look how crisp that is. It's so pretty. And look at the kind of subtle shading on some of the mushrooms where that black ink was like softly going over it. On this one, you're going to see it even more. So look at those flowers that I'm pointing out after I'm done, and you're going to see that kind of soft charcoaly effect that I'm talking about. And that just depends on the design of your embossing folder. Does your embossing folder have little gradations of height that are catching that ink pad? Or is it very bold embossed and debossed designs? That's what's going to change the look of the Blackout technique. And I just think it's so fun because all three of these are so different. This one looks like it's shaded with pencil almost because of those different heights of the paper, and looks completely different from the first one. Look at that soft, soft, soft shading. It's so even and perfect. I just think it's gorgeous. This is such a wow technique, and it's so easy. You can make many of them, as you can tell. This video is not very long. You can make many of them very, very quickly. They're all going to look a little bit different. You can experiment with the coloring mediums that you're using underneath the Blackout technique. You might want to use watercolor and do that on watercolor paper. You might want to use colored pencils. All kinds of possibilities that you have with different embossing folders, different substrates, different coloring mediums, but they're all going to be absolutely beautiful. So I hope this helps you look at your 3D embossing folders in a brand new way, and that you try this experiment soon. Here are the finished cards. Head over to my blog link in the description for more information, and thanks so much for watching.